Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining that session dedicated now to the topic of SPDM. So previous sessions were about optimization in metallurgy industry. So now let's switch totally to a totally different topic, simulation and process data management. We have here with us Mr. Mark Norris, who's expert in that domain and having different responsibilities, among which maybe you know his participation to NAFEMS. So please let me just introduce Mark to you and the audience, and then I can the ball. So Mark Norris is a chartered engineer, so member of Institution of Mechanical Engineering, MBA, and founder of the SDM consultancy.com company. He has been architecting, designing, and delivering leading-edge IT and simulation solutions in engineering for over 40 years. His recent achievements include building the first successful open-source simulation data management solution, OpenSPDM, and the first SDM solution on the ARAS Innovator platform. He proposed the next generation information management solution to support simulation-led engineering for the Brunel Challenge, re-engineering engineering. He then successfully demonstrated the feasibility of fully integrated systems engineering, system simulation, and SDM solution on the Innovator platform to address the grand engineering challenge of designing a magnetically confined fusion MCF reactor for the United Kingdom Atomic Energy Authority. He began his career developing a computer method for the prediction of crack propagation in bonded fuselage structure, for which he was awarded the NE Medal of the Royal Aeronautical Society. He is the author of the NAFEMS publications and How to Get Started with Simulation Data Management and Business Value from Simulation Data Management. Maybe you've read his book already. His presentation for today is titled 20 Years of SPDM in Production Towards a Convergence of SPDM and PIDO. With this, off to you, Mark. The floor is yours. Mark, you're still with us? So maybe we have internet connections now. So let's give Mark a few seconds. Hello, Mark, you're back. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay, good. So you can start your presentation and share your screen. Yep.
Laurent, thanks for that introduction. So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm now going to talk about 20 years of SPDM in successful production and how the convergence of SPDM and PIDO like P7 can accelerate digital engineering in your companies. It's based on a keynote I gave at the World Congress of NAFEMS last year. So I'm going to give a brief introduction to SDM and SPDM. I'm going to look at some of the technology landmarks over 20 years of SDM and SPDM, some of the challenges of deployment and solutions that can be achieved, and some brief conclusions. So SDM and then SPDM were invented by Germany's leading companies, BMW and Audi, who now use SPDM to manage all their simulations. So we have more than 20 years of experience of how to be successful with SPDM. The business impact of SPDM in mainstream product development, especially automotive, has been very impressive, even transformational for these leading companies. And simulation on the digital platform must be the future of engineering. But the uptake of SDM has been much slower than PDM, and integration of PIDO to SDM is one way to accelerate adoption and deployment. So in 2018, the Department of Defense in the United States published its digital engineering strategy, and the Department of Energy has just launched a similar program. Going forward, contractors to the DoD are mandated to manage models, CAE applications and data on a digital platform. And to achieve this, we need to connect models, application and data to these digital platforms. And that's what we call SPDM. So if you're a DoD contractor, going forward, you're going to have this capability. And just last week, a major gas turbine company nominated a new vice president of digital so that they can be in compliance with the digital engineering strategy for a major program. SDM has three purposes. The first overarching purpose is to provide an ergonomic working environment for simulation engineers so they can find data, launch applications, save their work back to the platform, capture metadata and the digital thread, and share results and conclusions with peers, managers, and clients. The second purpose is to provide a secure, productive information system to support digital engineering. But unless the SDM solution works well for the simulation engineers, it won't be used. This platform provides traceability, supports digital certification, protects intellectual property, and provides very significant productivity gains. And the third purpose is to provide a platform for process automation. So a platform for PIDO, for surrogate modeling, for UQ, robust design, data mining, AI, machine learning, and digital twins. Because if you don't have a database, you can't deploy these technologies industrially for large scale. One of the key capabilities of an SDM solution is to answer the question, how did you get this result? So you expand the graph backwards from the results to the originating simulation project or study, and you can trace every step in the process you followed to get to results. And this is its key value for simulation engineers. This is simulation data management on one slide. An SDM solution is made up of three main layers. The first is an interface layer that accesses the web UI, CAE applications, add-ons, other systems, and HPCs. The core is a metadata layer where you have the key items, properties, relationships. And the core items of SDM are a study, which is a simulation project and it contains the simulation record. Data items, which are both input and outputs to the originating process and the next process. And process step items, which are the process definition, the process record, and enable simulation engineers to launch CAE applications. And then you have the physical data layer made up of vaults and managed file systems. So we've now got 22 years of experience of SPDM in production since BMW went live with CAE Bench in the year 2000. And many companies have successfully deployed SPDM into productive production. Some of these are very small. So Abacus, which is a CFD consultancy providing analysis to oil and gas companies, built their own SPDM in 2002, and it's still in production, supporting ISO certification and productivity for the simulation engineers. Audi also went live with the offering from MSC Software, and then did GKN Driveline, which is a subcontractor in the automotive industry. SDM was systematized by 2 VDA recommendations, and this led to the development of Sim Data Manager on the iStep.net platform and its deployment at Porsche. Very importantly for the subject today, 2 SDM solutions were developed for Airbus and for Sandia National Laboratories. And both these SDM systems underpin a PIDO solution. So a PIDO solution is used as a desktop for the engineer and for simulation process management, and an SDM was built to underpin them. So this is exactly the same approach as integrating P7 with the Innovator platform. Then many other companies deployed SDM in production. Audi went for a modular approach. BMW went for a single vendor approach. And this was then re-implemented at Boeing for a totally different usage. A standards-based approach was developed for Lockheed Martin and for the Joint Strike Fighter simulations. And the ANSYS EKM solution was deployed at Safran Landing Systems. TC for simulation was deployed for virtual testing at Airbus, and the capabilities of SimManager were extended to cover multi-body simulation so that there was a full range of simulation management capability on the single platform for BMW. A new entrant was SPDRM at Renault and Volvo, and SimManager was deployed for digital certification at Embraer. The next generation of SPDM is based on an open agile platform and was first piloted at Safran Aircraft Engines, and this was then picked up by Toyota for managing their systems engineering, and the open SPDM solution was subsequently deployed at the Atomic Energy Authority for modeling the simulations of fusion reactors. What we really want is a high SDM capability, many integrations to CAE applications, an affordable platform. And we are moving towards that objective, but at the moment, work on this agile platform is still at the project level. So BMW and SGI invented SDM to assure simulation quality as simulation replaced prototype testing. And we can see that they were a long way ahead of the game, taking this decision in the late 1990s. And all the things that they mentioned in their justification of SDM are still true today, but they've been gaining huge advantage from this. They've managed to decrease the time to perform a safety simulation from 2.5 days in 2002 to 10 simulations per day in 2018. So that's a 25 times increase in engineering throughput. And if we look at the product lines in 2000, they had 3 models and they were running 3 virtual prototypes. Whereas in 2020, they have 78 models, 50 plus virtual vehicles being simulated every day. And they have series 1 to 8, X to M, they have Mini, they have motorcycles. They have achieved huge increases in engineering throughput using their SPDM solution. But simulation data management underpinning a PIDO solution has also been successful, notably at Airbus and at Sandia Laboratories, where their SDM database underpins the Sandia analysis workbench and the Dakota PIDO solution. So having a desktop for the simulation engineer, be it PIDO or a workbench, can readily be combined with SDM to provide a complete solution to an organization. In terms of making simulation more accessible, I presented the first example of OpenSPDM in 2018. This was picked up by Safran Aircraft Engines, and they presented it at the NAFEMS World Congress in 2019. I presented the work I did for simulation-led engineering of a fusion reactor at the 2021 conference, and independently Toyota Motors Europe, who'd selected this ARAS Innovator platform for simulation management, reported very significant lead time and manpower savings from applying a single environment for system definition and system simulation. But what are the challenges of deployment and what can we do about them? Well, for me, the number one challenge is the integration of CAE applications into the platform. PDM is so different from SDM because PDM, you only have to integrate a single application, a single CAD system into your chosen PDM platform. So thousands of people use the same application, and you can spend quite a lot on CAD integration. The simulation world is inherently different. This is a chart from Naval Group of all the simulation applications they need to integrate with their future SDM platform. And you can see that there's perhaps nearly 100 applications that will need to be integrated for them to have digital engineering across all their domains. So the cost of integration between these tens or hundreds of CAE applications and platforms is a major obstacle. Current technology is to develop point-to-point connectors, and 30 to 80 connectors are needed for enterprise SDM projects. But more than the 30 connectors, we need multiple versions of each of the connectors and frequent updates. And it's almost impossible to find someone who is competent on your SDM platform and each one of these applications. And since some vendors are both platform and solution vendors, there can be conflicts with other vendors, and it can be difficult to test the connectors. So connectors are specific to a project and a platform, and industry coverage would require 800 of these connectors to be developed, which is essentially not feasible. It's a major obstacle to digital engineering. So what can we do to accelerate SPDM adoption? Well, the challenges are the time and speed of deployment, which is primarily down to CAE application integration and also process mapping, access to best practice thinking, because SDM solutions have got to be adapted to your particular needs. And there's definitely a shortage of deployment people. Well, the way we can solve this is, firstly, there's new methodologies, which there's one expressed in How to Get Started with SDM from NAFEMS. CAE application integration can be directly solved by integrating a PIDO platform that already has many application integrations. Or we are looking at developing a standard application integration approach that would enable methods teams to develop connectors, but that is a future way of solving the problem. We've just formed the NAFEMS SPDM best practices team to enable practitioners to share their experience and their points of view and interact with other practitioners. And in terms of expertise, this is all about education and training, but making an open source SPDM available would enable people to develop their own capabilities. If you need to get started with SPDM, then I recommend this publication. Here's a review from Rob Akers. You'll be able to read at your leisure. He found it extremely interesting, and as a result of it, I was commissioned to do this work at the Atomic Energy Authority. So what's the way to accelerate the development of connectors? Well, FMI has shown us that use of a standard enables affordable integrations between hundreds of applications to be developed. So we're looking at a standard specification with a standard exchange protocol, defined parameters and file formats. And that will enable connectors to be developed simply by people who understand the CAE applications. They won't need to understand the platform. They'll be independent of the complex platform APIs. And then connectors built to this standard will be reusable between projects and platforms. And this has been proven to achieve significant savings. For example, at Brose in Germany, who reported their SPDM project last week at the NAFEMSTAT conference. And an approach which is directly available and is going to be shown to you in the next presentation is simply to integrate a PIDO platform like P7 into the SDM platform, and then all the connectors available for P7 and the connector framework are available to rapidly connect applications, both interactive and computational, to the SDM platform. So you can access all these application integrations immediately. So in conclusion, leveraging P7's process modeling and integration framework will accelerate SDM deployment because CAE application integrations are already available, and you only need to integrate one application to SDM. That's the PIDO platform instead of 30. Simulation results can be directly used to build surrogate models in P7, and then subsequently you can move to directly integrating CAE applications to support ad hoc simulation activities. And with that, I'd like to invite your questions.
Thanks a lot, Mark, for this very clear presentation. Here is the first question. How do you see the contribution of PIDO's design of experiments, optimization or stochastic capabilities in SPDM? Second part of the question, is it a second step after single black box run?
Yes, I think it is, because you have to have got the initial process running before you can start doing design space exploration or stochastics or anything else. So that's kind of the first rule. If you haven't mapped your process and been able to run it automatically, then it's not going to be possible to run automation based on that process.
Okay, thanks. Second one is, what is the main reasons of failure for SPDM projects?
Well, generally, SPDM projects are extremely successful. The thing that you have to be very careful about is that you need to buy an SPDM solution which you have tested for your particular requirements. So there are some market-leading SDM or SPDM solutions. So all the major solutions have become SPDM solutions. And you can see from the chart of those that are in production that there are some established solutions that have been available now for 2 decades. There are other vendors who are proposing new solutions, and you need to check that the solution meets your needs before you buy it. The number one problem is people buy solutions which don't meet their needs, and that isn't a failure of SDM, it's a failure of a piece of software that isn't really an SDM solution.
Reasonable. And finally, the last question, can I use an SPDM solution to control versions of my PIDO's workflows?
Absolutely. So the PIDO workflow is stored as a version controlled object, and you can both execute the most recent one, and you can even look at previous versions if you need to run something again to check results. To go back to the previous question, if I use an automotive example, if you test drive a Ferrari and buy a Trabant, it will not behave like a Ferrari. So you need to test drive your SPDM solution before you buy it, because there are a number of less successful solutions, and companies that have tested them prior to taking a purchase decision have then been saved from the problem of a solution that doesn't deliver what they need.
I see your points. Thanks a lot, Mark. No more question at the moment. I wanted to mention that next session, which has just started, is a perfect illustration of interoperability between SPDM and PIDO. So I invite you to switch promptly to current session animated by Gaspar. Speak to you soon, Mark. Bye for now.
Thanks. Goodbye.